in college, I think I was a junior, a friend of mine told me she was submitting a speech for Martin Luther King Day. And it was like a university-wide program. And they were looking for student speakers. And they were going to have like local politicians and like a reverend who was really well known in the area presenting as well. And it was going to be at Miller Auditorium, which held 3,000 people. And when she was telling me about it, I thought, why in the world would you want to do that? And she told me, because like, it just sounds like such a great opportunity. And so I said, well, I want to do it now too. And so I put my speech together and then I sent it in. And then all of a sudden, a couple of days later, they said, you've been selected to do the student address. And I thought, well, wait a minute, what have I gotten myself into? And so then it hit me that I was going to have to stand, in front of all of these people. And I had never given a speech in anything other than like a classroom with like 20 people. And when they told me, like, we need your speech ahead of time and we're going to put it on the teleprompters, like those glass ones that they put on the side of the podium, this was the real deal. And I remember being backstage, and I can't remember who went first, but they were like this super dynamic speaker. And I look out into the audience, and it's full. So this auditorium, there was a balcony and all of these seats, and I walk out onto the stage, and luckily the lights like totally blinded me, so I couldn't see anything. And I thought, it's do or die, just do it. And I got to the podium, and I just started talking, and my speech was there, and I was able to refer to my notes, but it was one of those things I'd practiced so much that I was able to kind of go along and look at my notes only occasionally. And I remember at one point I was telling a story about so I had a scholarship, but I had to take the ACT, and I had to get a certain score in order for me to qualify for the scholarship. And I told my parents, and my dad says, well, we need to go on vacation. We're leaving this day. And I'm like, no, I can't. Like, my test is the next day. And he says, well, I don't care. We need to leave. And I'm like, I kind of sort of need to do this test. And so he said, fine, we're going to drop you off, and we're going to wait outside while you take your ACT. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is insane, to have the pressure of like, I have to get a certain score in order for the scholarship to work out. And, oh, by the way, my family's waiting outside for me to like leave, and I've had to delay them by a day. And when I shared that story, like, I heard this laughter, just from the audience. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's really people like listening to me. And at the end of it, what was really kind of interesting is that, I got emails from people. I was in the newspaper, and, people came up to me afterwards, and, they were really inspired by like what I had said. And that's when it hit me that even though that was like definitely one of the scariest things I'd done at that point, being able to like tell people like my side of, of the story and share what, MLK meant to me, and, get my message out there. And the fact that like, people did say like it touched them in certain ways. I was like, okay, it was worth the pain and the fear that I went through, but definitely one of the scariest things I've ever done.